This is Living Power with Dan Hurst.
Interestingly, within 15 days in September, we will have a solar eclipse on the 13th and the final blood moon of the tetrad on the 28th. Now, if you weren't here last Sunday when we talked about the blood moons, get that study. And the notes are on the website. You can check them out there, or you can get a copy of the CD or check out the videos on that. But the fourth blood moon, which is on the 28th of September, the fourth blood moon introduces the next Jewish month, which is known as Heshvan or as Marcheshvan. Mar means bitter. And it's a word that the Jews use. They call Heshvan Marcheshvan because it's a bitter month. There are no festivals, no feasts during that month. And it is a cold month. It is the first month of winter. It's when it gets cold and rainy. It's just a dark, gloomy month. And so they call it Marcheshvan. It's a bitter month. Now, historically, this has been an amazingly important month in the life of Israel. It was in Marcheshvan that the Jews believed that the flood of Noah started and eventually ended in Marcheshvan. It was in Marcheshvan that the first temple was completed by Solomon. It wasn't inaugurated until the next year, but it was completed in Marcheshvan. It was in Marcheshvan that the Holocaust started. It was in Marcheshvan that Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated. But many of the Jews believe that this bitterness will end when they inaugurate the third temple, when it's built. They think it'll happen and it'll be inaugurated in the month of Marcheshvan. That's their plan, which of course will be the place where the Antichrist will perform what is called the abomination of desolation, when the Antichrist will stand in the temple and demand that everybody worship him. That event will usher in the last half of the tribulation, so the bitterness will not end. They're hoping it'll end, but it won't end. It will have ended for about 3.5 years, but it will kick back in at the middle of the tribulation. We'll be getting into that several weeks down the road. Do all of these signs mean that Jesus is coming back in September? No. Jesus could come back today. And these things that I've mentioned about September and October would probably still happen. But those signs give us a gauge of how things are developing and how close we are to the end of the church age as we usher in the end times. Luke 21 says it this way. Luke 21, starting with verse 25. And there will be signs in sun and moon and stars, and on the earth distress of nations and perplexity, because of the roaring of the sea and the waves, of people fainting with fear and foreboding of what is coming on the world. Does that sound familiar? For the powers of the heavens will be shaken, and then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now, when these things begin to take place, not when it does take place, when it begins to take place, straighten up, raise your heads, because your redemption is drawing near.
On behalf of Dan Hurst and the Open Class, we want to thank you for watching. We hope it was a blessing.